Good morning and welcome to each one this morning. I just want to make you aware that council meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or presentation materials will become part of the public record. So with that, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And just a few warden's remarks as we begin this morning. You've each been handed out a lapel pin just to make you aware that September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So please wear that and let everybody see it. The Huron County plowing match was a successful 2 days at the Dodds Farm near Winthrop. The weather was great, the plowing conditions were excellent, and there was a good turnout both of competitors and spectators, and also demonstrations by the soil and crop of some new technology that was interesting to see. So just we do good things in Huron County, and comments from those outside the county were quite impressive of the job we did with those 2 days. So certainly want to pass on congratulations to all those that volunteered to make a day like that happen. Many of County Council were at the AMO conference, and as a county, we had opportunity to have delegations with representatives of Municipal Affairs and Housing and as well the Ministry of Finance. And we are continuing our lobbying efforts in relation to funding for housing and homelessness. And I think the delegations we had were receptive, and as well, just joining in the town of Goderich with one of their delegations as well. And good opportunity to do that and to network, and good for those that were able to make that work. So with that, I'm going to move on to a motion to approve the agenda, and we do need to have an agenda as amended. We've got a bylaw that's been added in to address later in the meeting. So looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. That's Councillor Bazinet and Past Warden McClellan. Those in favor? That is carried. Is there any pecuniary interest to declare at this time? Councillor Noel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'm declaring on agenda item 15, bylaw 2025-057, to authorize entering into a contract with BM Ross and Associates for the consulting engineering services for the urban reconstruction of Hensel downtown. And the general nature of my interest is that my daughter is employed with BM Ross. Thank you.
Thank you for declaring that. Anyone else? Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Warden. Item 11.4, the appointment of the auditor for Huron County. The request for proposal for auditors for the county went out, and there is a submission from MNP, and my daughter is a partner with the firm.
Well, thank you for that declaration. Is there any others? All right, we can move on to the minutes of our previous meeting. If there's any errors or omissions to address, an opportunity to do that. And if not, I'd be looking for a motion. So that motion is made by Past Warden McNeil, seconded by Councillor Heffer. Those in favor? The minutes are adopted. We do have Huron County Soil and Crop Association with us, along with the Sabo Bayfield Conservation Authority. And we'd ask Rick to join us now, and Mary, I believe, joining as well, and looking forward to your presentation. So go ahead when you are ready.
Thank you, Warden Heffer and County Council and the staff of the county. Pleasure to be here once again. And I'm Rick Kutstra, and I'm representing the Huron County Soil and Crop. My colleague, Mary Valey's with the Sabo Bayfield. We're going to talk to you a little bit about Huronview today and some of the things we've done there, and some of the things we'd like to do. We've been grateful to, of course, the county for, I don't know how many years we've been there, roughly 10. And made some strides forward with regard to environment and how to farm in a better way with strip tillage, no-till, and the use of cover crops. which you see in that picture. We've had we've had some changes through learning, through growth. So we don't come to this council or to the farm with all the knowledge in the world. We've had to learn this as we go. So it's been exciting. Just advance the screen there. So that's me planting, and we planted corn there this year in strips into a cover crop. Advance again. That's an overall view of Huron View there, and Mary will take over.
Thanks, Rick. This is just a reminder of the innovations that have been undertaken at Huron View as we move forward to looking at a new innovation with subsurface irrigation. Some of the past innovations that have happened here have enabled us to move into making this proposal for subsurface irrigation. You can see in this picture here an aerial shot of the typical systematic tiling to your right, and on the left is the contour tiling. In the background under the words are no tile fields, and we also to the left of your screen have some wetlands there. So the innovations that we're already looking at are those things, and some of that has enabled us to go forward with further innovations with respect to the subsurface irrigation project proposed. I'll talk a little bit that in a moment. The other thing I want to mention is the innovations in monitoring that have occurred at this site, not only with some of the work at Asable Bayfield, but we have the University of Guelph partnering and looking at different innovations as well. Next slide, please. So an opportunity came forward to funding for the Great Lakes, with a project that could demonstrate improved soil health and reduce nutrients, demonstrate advanced management practices, and enhanced adoption of BMPs. Huron View site fit this bill, along with a partner with the Ontario Farmland Trust. They're also looking to develop demonstration farms. So together we collaborated on a proposal. Next slide, please. The considerations that made our application so strong for that proposal was the fact that there, for subsurface irrigation, is that there are wetlands, storage capacity at the bottom of the fields. As I mentioned, there's the contour control gate drainage system, which would be a requirement for subsurface irrigation. And subsurface irrigation has been tried in Ontario, but typically on very flat lands, and that would not be applicable for most of the landscape in Ontario. So this is an opportunity to take existing infrastructure and leverage that infrastructure so that we can begin to see what that kind of practice might look like on more typical terrain that is in Ontario. The next slide, please. With respect to perhaps the most unique part of this feature, this area is there is urban runoff in an urban area right adjacent to the agricultural fields. And we all know that with urban runoff, it's not as easy to manage as in a farm field where there's already soil conditions that will take up some of that water. So the opportunity here is to connect or redirect that urban runoff to the wetlands in the bottom, and then during the drought season or during the time of dry, reuse the water from both the agricultural fields and the urban area that is there. So the next slide. Do you want to jump in, Rick? Is there anything you want to say about any of that?
Sure. Again, it's a unique opportunity to have urban runoff that's causing an erosion issue that we're partially able to solve, and we're going to take that water and use it agriculturally. So it's repurposing of water. With this project, and as you've read in your brief, it's really unique. And as we go forward, you'll see other towns and villages throughout the county may adapt to this because they also have urban runoff. and they also have farmers that are right next. So if we can hook those guys together, why we can solve a lot of problems. So yeah, it's unique. You go ahead. It's unique, and we're excited about it.
Okay, thanks, Rick. This is just the project proposal, the conceptual design at this point. Number 1 and 2 refer to the redirection of the urban water down to the wetlands. 3 is improved connection between some of the wetlands to give us more capacity to hold the water during storm events. Then pumping the water from the bigger wetland at the bottom back up to the main and through the gates into the laterals that exist in the contour system. You can only do that in the contour control gate system. You can't do that with regular pattern tile. So this is the opportunity that this site offers to demonstrate this. And the final point, number 5, is the monitoring that will go on. So we're already monitoring the water there and the soil conditions. The unique opportunity, and David McCarthy from the University of Guelph was, sorry, he couldn't be here today. He was going to join us. He has a number of different approaches to monitoring. Some of this equipment, for example, a flow meter that we have on site, is about $10,000. He has equipment that he can build that is about $200. And you could see if we can test that more inexpensive equipment against the commercial equipment, the opportunities to expand our monitoring and our knowledge across more than one field would be very great. So this is a real opportunity, not only for innovations in the technology of the subsurface irrigation, but in the technology of how we're monitoring and how we're having the conversations. Next slide, please. So this is a table of the financial contributions that have been made to this project through OMAFA, Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness. So to establish demonstration farms with, it's not just the Huron View site, it's also the sites that the Ontario Farmland Trust have. Doing the different planning, consultation, and communication, and ongoing monitoring and evaluation. Even for our section part of the funding, it's not just for implementation at Huron View, it's also for some of the communications and efforts to talk about demonstration farms in Ontario. So this project does have funding to complete the works as described. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so we've over the last year, we've had about 500 people come through the project to talk about what we do. And I think some of you, or a lot of you, have already been there to Huron View to look around and see what we're all about. So again, thanks to County Council and you, Warden Heffer, for our work at Huron View and allowing us to be there on those lands, county lands. So thanks a lot, and we'll take questions now.
Well, thank you, Rick and Mary. We'll go to council if there's any comments or questions. Councillor Harding, please.
The one question I have is concerning this runoff. Maybe you don't have the concerns we have in the north where we have a lot of snow and ice and you know, can imagine what I'm concerned about in that runoff. Is there any monitoring of that or anything you are doing to?
So partnering with Dr. David McCarthy, we are hoping to, on one of the drains, instead of having it go, well, right now it runs to the river directly anyways. So one of the things we're hoping for is to have a bypass so it won't go in the wetlands. It'll be going to the river, which is also not great, but it is what happens. And at that time of year, when we have the salt runoff, there's typically quite a large volume of water moving through the Bayfield River. So there's a dilution factor to consider. But that is something we're hoping to test for, is at what times of the year would we want that water to go to the wetland versus go to the river? Is that the question that you had?
So in reference to salt, we're not too concerned because of the dilution factor. And also, like fertilizer, general fertilizer has a salt content. So the question becomes, how salty is it? And that water will sit in that pond for quite a while before we use it for subsurface irrigation. So there's it'll evaporate. There'll be an evaporation process too. So again, we're not sure how much salt content there is. And if there is it even a problem to the farming side, right? Is that kind of where you were going with that, sir?
That's exactly where I was going.
Okay.
We were having concerns from this about what's going into our water. So like, I would like to hope that you're monitoring this and. Sorry about that. I hope we would be monitoring that and keeping an eye on it. That's all I ask.
It's a very good question, and we talk about that a lot with the salt. Again, I'm not too worried about it. I think we can handle that because it's sort of, if you want to view it as double or triple filtered. Right now, that water off those parking lots goes directly into the river. Under the new system, it'll go into holding areas, wetlands. So it'll get a chance to evaporate there. Then when we put it through the tile for subsurface irrigation, it'll get another chance to filter again through the ground. And then finally, whatever's left goes back out to the environment. I see very little salt at that point. So from the non-farming side of the equation, you will have better water because it'll be, free of all those things.
Pass Warden Ginn, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. Just want to congratulate your committee, Rick and Mary. I think when we envisioned this relationship with the Soil and Crop Improvement Association, this is exactly what we were hoping for, was innovation, keeping things on leading edge of technology. And I think the fact that we could take water that could be partially polluted and use it to actually increase crop yields, I think is just a win-win situation. I just wanted to address the salt issue, if I could, for a second. I think most people know that I live on the leeward side of Huron County Road, Highway 8. There's all kinds of salt spray that comes off that road during a windstorm. I have seen it affect needles on pine trees, but I've never noticed any yield loss along the highway from the salt spray that we get. So I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but it's great to monitor that and see if in fact that is reality. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? So if not, then thank you for the presentation and keep up the good work. We appreciate the management of those grounds and appreciate the work that you do there. So what I'd be looking for now is a motion to receive this report that we've just had, and we will address the water management project a little later in the agenda. So that is Councillor Noel and Councillor Becker would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Councillor comments. Is there any councillors that would like to speak at this time? All right, we will move on to our consent agenda, items 8.1 to 8.6. If there's anything specific that any councillor would like to speak to and pull from that list, this is your opportunity. And if not, then we'd be looking for a blanket motion to accept the consent agenda. Councillor McClellan would put that motion forward. Councillor Dietrich would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. So under planning and development, we have the all-risk municipal grant from LAS and the intact public entities. And Derry is available to answer questions if you would have any on this report. And if there is no questions, then I'd be looking for motion to receive the report. And that would be Councillor Vanstone, seconded by Councillor Anderson. Those in Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. That's now is forward. I do have it says here we're going to look and the area's already been identified. My question to find this weed. And also I didn't catch in here what we're going to do after we find it. Could you clarify that?
And Derry, please.
Thank you.
Yes, through you, Mr. Warden. We do know of some areas that are in hard to reach locations. We're just not fully sure of the extent of the populations there. So that's where this new technology will come in handy to see how large those populations of giant hogweed are so that we can start the management process. In terms of how we're going to be managing it after the fact, that will be potentially through a continued partnership with Asable Bayfield Conservation Authority. They already are managing and monitoring a lot of invasive species, and so is the county through our forester. So a management plan would ideally be created once we know the extent of those and we have partners with the landowners.
And a follow-up, Councillor Klopp.
And I'm gathering that this 10,000 goes to purchase a drone, and then part of it is made up of labor.
Yes,
Derry,
through you,
please.
Mr. Warden. Yes, a smaller portion is actually towards a drone. They've become quite inexpensive to buy, surprisingly, actually. And then part of it will be for Asable Bayfield Conservation Authority staff to go and monitor these sites using the drone. They have policies and operational procedures in place already to operate drones. So we're going to be leaning on their expertise a bit through this pilot.
Past Warden Ginn, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And Terry might have somewhat answered the question I had there. And that is, you know, from a privacy point of view, if someone has a house in a riparian area and we're in there monitoring, do we have concerns with privacy, those types of protocols? But I'm assuming ABCA does. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? If not, we had a mover and seconder, so I will call the question. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Derry. We are looking now at consent application C26, 2025, and welcome Craig Metzger to present this for us. Welcome, Craig.
Thank you, Warden. Good morning, Council, staff, and members in the gallery. This particular application is on Porters Hill Line in Central Huron. It is a surplus farmhouse severance. The application is to sever 13 acres from an approximately 155 acre farm. Both the owner and the applicant are present today at the meeting. This air photo shows the severed parcel. It does front on Porters Hill Line. It's just on the east side. The buildings are in roughly the center portion of the property. So looking at the buildings, there's a farmhouse. There's several drive sheds, a small barn, and a liquid manure tank. This is standing on Porters Hill Line, looking to the northeast. You can see all of the buildings that are on the severed parcel. There's the 1.5 story farmhouse, several drive sheds. And what I'll do is I'll show pictures of each, and I'll start at the southernmost building and work my way north. So starting at the south end, this is the barn. It's a very small barn. It actually has a larger drive shed attached to it. And then there's the liquid manure tank. You can just see the top of it beyond the green wagon. Other end of the barn, you can see the small portion that's actually used as a barn. Beside it is there's a foundation from a former silo. This would be the southernmost drive shed. It's fairly small. There's a newer drive shed to the rear. You can see a little bit of it there. This would be a better photo showing the newer drive shed, and then another drive shed and a smaller shed as well. That little corner there is the house, which is behind it. So this particular drive shed, in the next photo, you'll see the other side of it. So this is standing back on Porter's Hill, a line looking towards the east, and there's that drive shed I was pointing out. And this is the lands to the north of the cluster of buildings, and it's on the severed parcel. In terms of comments that we've received, we did receive comments from the Huron County Federation of Agriculture. They did express concerns with the large size of the severed parcel, and also that it was proposed that the liquid manure tank would stay on the severed parcel. They had a number of requests. First would be that severed parcel size be reduced. Second, that the manure tank be removed. And then they asked that the house parcel be rezoned so that it was residential. That happens automatically as part of the severance approval. The zoning bylaws have that occurring automatically. And then municipal addressing, they raised a concern that with such a large retained farmland parcel that they suggested there be a 911 address. So if there was a need for emergency response to the farm parcel, they would use that particular address to know that it's on the farm, not the severed house. The county biologist indicated that if the woodland part's to be severed, she would like to see a supportive environmental impact study. Maitland Valley Conservation Authority have no objections to the application. They reviewed it from the natural hazard perspective. They did note that it is within a significant groundwater recharge area, and they had some information and pamphlets in terms of what the homeowner needs to be aware of in terms of how they use the property, just to make sure that they're not contaminating that recharge area. And then finally, the municipality of Central Huron does recommend that the application be approved, although they're recommending a reduced severed parcel size of 10 acres or 4 hectares. In terms of the planning review, the retained farmland is going to a farmer for whom it will be surplus. That's actually the applicant. The current farm owner is retaining the severed farmhouse. So it meets that requirement. There's 2 requirements that it currently does not meet. One is that the severed parcel size is not minimized. Minimizing it is required by the planning documents, and it's to only include the land that's needed for the residential use or its water and sewage services. So in this case, the 13 acres is well beyond what's needed for what's required for the residential use, and does include the loss of some agricultural land, several acres. Second would be large agricultural infrastructure. In this case, the liquid manure tank has been included with the severed parcel. A tank of that size is not needed for a residential use and should be removed. The applicant has requested that it remain. He would like to use it both as a cistern for irrigation purposes and also potentially as a tank for fire suppression, to have a water source close by. In terms of the cistern approach, the tank is very large, more than what I consider to be necessary for residential irrigation purposes. There is that former silo foundation that I showed in an earlier slide that could be retrofitted for a cistern if that was needed. And then in terms of fire suppression, a large open tank is not ideal, especially in the winter, if you get ice on it and so forth. And also, in speaking with a fire chief, he expressed concerns with you're not sure when if you were to use it from a fire suppression standpoint of what you're actually sucking out of the bottom of that tank. Fire chiefs do like underground tanks with a dry hydrant, but not large former manure tanks. So from a fire suppression standpoint, he would not recommend it. The application does meet all the other official plan and planning requirements. It's only those two items, the manure tank and the size of the parcel. As submitted, the application wouldn't conform with those documents. There is the recommendation is approval, and there's two conditions that would address those items. One is that the manure tank be removed, and the second is that the severed parcel size would be reduced. My recommendation is that it be reduced to 1.8 hectares, which is roughly 4.5 acres. And that's the size that you see on the screen here, where it's fairly tight to the existing buildings. As I mentioned, Central Huron is recommending 10 acres. That's the picture in the middle here. And then on the left is the applicant's request for the 13 acres. So what you have before you is essentially three options. You may pick a fourth, but there's three options on the screen that would show those sizes between what the applicant is requesting and then the minimized recommendation on the right and what Central Huron is suggesting in the middle. I did mention the conditions. The first 6 conditions are standard conditions for a surplus farmhouse severance. The last 4, the 7th dealing with that the retained lands be transferred to Holdale Farms. That's to make sure that the lands are going to a farmer for whom the house would have been surplus. Number 8, the municipal addressing for the retained parcel comes from the comments from the Federation of Agriculture. Number 9 deals with the a reduction in the severed parcel size. And number 10, that the liquid manure tank be removed. My recommendation is the application be approved with those conditions, including the condition that the size of the severed parcel be reduced to 4.5 acres. Mr. Warden, that's my presentation.
Thank you, Craig, for the presentation. We are now entering the part of the meeting where the public can make comments. Anyone that wishes to speak can do so using the raised hand feature from Zoom, or if you're in person, raise your hand and we'll address that. And I'm going to start. If anybody wishes to speak in opposition to this application. Seeing nobody wishing to speak in opposition, then I would ask if there's anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application. And if there is, if you would come up to the podium and give us your name and proceed when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Warden, Council. I'm here shaking in my boots. But anyhow, I'd like to make some comments on what is being said. First of all, the property, I asked for 13 acre. Central Huron went and approved me 10. I can live with that. Any other suggestion would be very difficult to digest for me. And I have also some, because of its topography, its layout, there's not even a square foot of agricultural land in that property that I'm severing. Basically, and the way I wanted to see it is have it remain as is with a bush beside it. So that appeal is better too. So I'm pleading with council to understand that. So the other thing is about the manure pit. It's not a manure pit. It's a water reservoir. And the fire chief spoke in favor to me having it. About sediment is not an issue that Mr. Goderich was mentioning, because the fire department use a floating basket in any water source. And I'm probably the only one in a 2-kilometer radius that have that resource on the top of a hill. And I would hate to see it destroyed and keep it for that purpose. Other than that, the northeast corner is a floodplain in springtime. So absolutely not usable for any quarter of an acre what may be there. The same to the south in that valley. It's a 40-foot drop. It's a floodplain in the spring too. And that's all natural settings. So I'm, pleading with you to consider my wishes. And if you want to comment on that yet, yeah.
And thank you for sharing that. And if I could just have your name for the record.
Peter Evangelio.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Peter. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this application? And if you would come up and give us your name and proceed.
Marius Hol, the applicant. One thing I just want to say on behalf of Pete, and I don't think anybody is aware of this, and we should have mentioned this earlier, which we didn't. So the former manure pit on the property, it is solely used for water reservoir as for fire protection. In fact, the slats in the barn have been removed. The manure storage in the barn has been backfilled with gravel and a concrete floor has been poured. As well, the pipe between the barn and the pit has been disconnected. And I just wanted to mention this in case, because this hasn't been mentioned this yet.
Thank you for those comments, Marius. So now we're at the point where council has opportunity to make comment on this application. And I'll start with past Warden Ginn, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. This application was brought to Central Huron. I can verify with personal knowledge of the property, it's very steep topography. There's none of the 13 acres that is suitable for agriculture today. The lands to the south, toward the forest, is so steep. The phrase I use is that so steep a cow would have trouble walking up it. So it's not agricultural land. It'll never be agricultural land. However, Central Huron does have in our bylaws a stipulation that a property to be rezoned AG4 does not exceed 10 acres. So that's the reason Central Huron wanted to go with the 10 acres. The land to the north is a wet swale, but it exceeds the acreage that we were willing to accept. As far as the forest to the south, with no disrespect to the new owner, but we often find that farmers that assume other properties, especially with small acreages of forest, the forest tends to get ignored. So we were comfortable with the fact that the existing owner would take better care of that wooded lot than what a new owner may. And I think it's something we see often across the municipality, and I think across the county. As far the other thing I wanted to mention, you see all the buildings there and the sheds, and you might not have guessed, but the business of the current owner he was a contractor, builder. So lots of buildings on the property, none of which are suitable barns. So we weren't concerned. Personally, I'm not concerned about it. The issue on the manure tank wasn't discussed at Central Huron Council. My understanding is that the Goderich fire chief, which fits in the Goderich fire protection area, does support reservoirs for fighting fires through those numerous buildings that are on the property. So our recommendation from Central Huron was that it be approved with the 10 acres. And I'm quite fine with the manure tank staying as well. So those are my comments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. Other comments? Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you. On number 8, maybe for housekeeping, it says there that we're putting a 911 as a recommendation from the Federation. Is it not normal practice whenever there's a severance in the county that a new 911 number is automatically in place? Or that's part of the process?
Go ahead, Craig.
Yes, in response, 911 numbers are applied when there's actually a structure on the property. It may not always occur with the retained farmland, depending on the size.
Okay, thank you. that does twig something that maybe it came to this council or maybe it was lower tier, not sure, but that we were lobbying the province that as part of the planning that it be an automatic thing that happens, that a 911 is put on a property, vacant land or not. So thank you. I'll keep working on that. Okay, as far as this plan goes, it says in there from the Maitland Conservation that this is a recharging area. So I think the fact that the owner, the two applicant and the new owner wishes to retain a bigger parcel, that just to me is got to make sense about from a recharging process, as was commented earlier. And I think that just adds to this, makes sense. And again, at the end of the day, for me, our lower tier, like all colleagues, you follow the rules. But the rules allow you to make a recommendation. And I consistently think that is what we need to do here at the county, is to, if it's in blue water, we may have had a different decision. But that again is the local people having the discussion. And I think that so in this case, I'm going to be supporting the motion from the council. And I was privy to which Councillor Ginn referred back to the fire chief. I was privy to a fact that the owners sent a letter to the Federation of Agriculture, took the time to go to one of the meetings there last week. And actually this was sent around the room. I will say there was no comment from anyone in the room. There was no motion to they took it as information, and it's my biased opinion, I will say that, but it didn't seem everybody seemed to think that was a reasonable answer. And the fire chief, if I recall, did say that he supported the idea. And so I again, on that note, if it means anything to anyone, but I feel really confident that this is the right direction, that can stay there. Why would we interfere? We're tearing enough stuff down. Maybe we should leave stuff alone, and down the road, somebody may maybe appreciate that we didn't tear stuff down.
Councillor Van Stone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'm not in that community, as you know, but I do know that property very well. And there's a very, very deep gully that runs along there. And I think that the 10 acres is quite put in the right place, because like, you don't want people wrecking that. It's bad enough now where it is, when it's under control. I think the 10 acres is perfect. So I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Right. Other comments from council? If there's no further comments, then we'll be looking for direction for staff to continue. So pass Warden Ginn, please.
Yeah, I would, I just got to get the wording right here. Move the motion that the severance be granted in conjunction with the recommendation from Central Huron that the property be 10 acres and that the former liquid manure tank be allowed to remain.
And Councillor Finch, you're seconding that motion. So I'm going to go to council. Any further comments? Then that motion put forward, the recommendation that comes from Central Huron. Those in favor of that recommendation? That is carried. And Craig, I believe there will be a follow-up motion required here.
Yes, I'll just pull that up on the screen. I think I've got the correct one. It'll be 2A, effective public comments. There were no public comments, so there was no impact. And 4B, the effective agency comments. So we received comments regarding the removal of the liquid manure tank and the reduction of the severed parcel size. 1.8 hectares was staff recommendation, 4 hectares for the municipality of Central Huron. Those comments were addressed through the decision of council, including reducing the severed parcel size to 4 hectares, which is the 10 acres. The comments regarding the manure tank were thoroughly considered, but did not influence the decision of council.
So recommended motion is 2A and 4B for comments, and that is moved by Councillor Klopp, seconded by Councillor Harding. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Craig, for the presentation for us. We are now at our official plan amendment, and we've had a report in our package, and Denise Van Amersfoort is here to answer questions if you have any. And if there is no questions, then there's a recommended motion if someone's willing to put that forward. So that's Councillor McClellan, seconded by Past Warden McNeil. Those in favor? That is carried. And again, there's a secondary motion required with this. And Denise, would you be so kind as to present us with that secondary motion?
Yes. So the suggested wording is that public comments were received in regards to dust control standards. Comments were thoroughly considered, but the effect did not influence the decision of council to approve the amendment. Agency comments were received in regards to wetland protection and public health promotion. The comments were addressed through changes to the text of the amendment.
Do I have movers? That's Councillor Finch, seconded by Past Warden Ginn. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Denise. And Dave Pullen is with us to present a pit restoration project for us. So welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Warden Pepper and council and colleagues. I know a number of you are familiar with the Management of Abandoned Aggregate Pits program. I'll call it MAP from here on by the acronym. That program has actually restored 47 mostly privately owned pits in the county. The funding for it comes from the levy that aggregate producers pay to the Ontario Aggregate Resources Corporation, and 3% of that levy goes toward funding the rehabilitation of old pits. And those, by old pits, I mean prior to 1990 and prior to the Aggregate Resources Act. We happen to have one of those legacy pits in the Roger Tract at Auburn, and we were approached by the MAP program to evaluate the site to see if it would be a candidate for restoration. They did the evaluation, it was a candidate, and I'm quite supportive of it. Because it'll make the area safer, for one thing, reducing a lot of the very steep slopes. And also it will give us an area to plant trees and shrubs and add some biodiversity to that site. So I just wanted to make you aware of it. If there's any questions, I can try to answer those. And that restoration, if council is in favor, would occur this fall when MAP is in the area.
Thank you, Dave, for that. I'll start with Councillor Harding and then Councillor Klopp.
Just one question, Dave, if I'm following this correctly, and I may not be. Is this going to affect the decommissioning of gravel pits in any way or not? We have a problem in this county where people leave a few shovelfuls of gravel in a pit and they don't close it down because there will be a cost to that.
I don't think this program will have any impact on that. If the pits are licensed, they're not eligible for this program. And I hope, does that answer your question? Okay.
Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you for the report. I make the motion that we move forward. As always, you have things pretty detailed, and I'll make the motion.
All right, motion is made. Is there a seconder for that motion? That's Councillor Noel. Is there any further comments? Councillor McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to Dave. Good morning, Dave. Dave, how big is this pit or the track in general? I guess it's the pit more I'm interested in. I'm not familiar with it, so I'm just interested in that.
Yeah, through you, Warden, to Councillor McClellan, the pit is probably about 2 to 3 acres in size. So it's significant.
All right, just one last comment, Dave. I think it's great to see something like this going forward and cleaning up some of those pits that were never rehabbed properly. So good for that to take place. Those in favor of the motion, and that is carried. We are now at item 11 on our agenda, administration, policies, and other issues. And MPAC has a file licensing agreement, and Mike is available for questions if there would be any questions on that report. And if there is no questions, I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder. Past Warden McNeil would move that. Seconded by Councillor Heffer. Those in favor? That is carried. Huron View Site and Demonstration Farm, we're back to receiving, looking at what was presented to us earlier, and Sandra is available for questions if there is any questions regarding this. And if not, no questions or comments, then I'd be looking for a mover, and that is Councillor Finch, and seconded by Councillor Vanstone, that we receive the report and proceed with the water management project and bring back a bylaw. So those in favor of that, and that is carried. Presentation, Kim Reed is here to take any questions on the managed services report that's been in our package. Is there any questions on that? And seeing none, then I'd be looking for a motion. That's Councillor Heffer and Past Warden McClellan. Those in favor? That is carried. We need to reappoint auditors for the County of Huron, and Mike is available to take any questions that we would have of this report. Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I just have a question of how long they have been doing it. I have no problem with the service they're providing. They do a good job, but I also believe sometimes there's an opportunity when you have turnover because a new set of eyes sometimes looks at things a little bit different. I also understand that there's a benefit when it's the same people that we're familiar with what we need to provide and everything we need to do. So it's a double-edged sword there, and I'm just curious how long they've been doing the job when you add another 5 years to that time frame.
Mike, please.
Through yourself, Warden. Yes, so KPMG itself have been our auditors for the past 11 years. Now, the partner has remained consistent, so that's Matthew Beddick. He's been consistent, but the actual boots on the ground, the folks that are doing the audit, they continually turn over. So there's generally like a senior accountant or kind of team lead. They're like generally 2 years, and they kind of turn over, and then it's like a junior will pop into that role, and then they move off. So there's always a fresh set of eyes, except for at the partner level where Matthew has been consistent, but the folks that have actually been doing the work, it's generally, we have maybe 2-3 years tops on that. But to your point, 11 years total for the firm itself.
Thank you for that response. Based on that answer, I'd be willing to move the motion.
All right, thank you. So motion is put forward. Do I have a seconder? That's Councillor Dietrich. Those in favor? That motion is carried. Our CAO, Megan Wark, is available for questions on our strategic priorities, if there would be any. And she would like to speak to that, so go ahead, Megan.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Warden, just under the CAO section, there is an item that says service level discussion strategy. So later on in the meeting, I would anticipate that the warden will be talking to County Council about a couple of dates where we will be sitting down as a group, pre-budget discussion to talk about some of the issues that have come up in the past in relation to strategic priorities. So just making you aware of that. Early October, we're anticipating sitting down and having some further discussion on service levels.
Okay, thank you, Megan. If there's any questions, and if not, then a motion to receive. And that's Councillor Becker, seconded by Past Warden Ginn. Those in favor? That is carried. There's several items of correspondence. Is there anything specific anybody wants to pull out and address? Councillor Klopp, please.
Thank you.
1212 and 1213, I would like direction from council.
Yeah, do you want them separated together? Our clerk would prefer to do them separately, just to keep distance between.
Oh, for sure. I
So-
just wanted to make sure they both didn't get missed.
Okay, so we will address them each on their own, and I think the motion that would bring staff report back addressing each one. So, so that motion
That's
put
the
forward
direction.
by Councillor Klopp. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Finch, those in favor? That is carried. So that's 12.12. So 12.13 again, be looking for a mover and a seconder to bring back a staff report. So Councillor Becker, and seconded by Past Warden McClellan. Those in favor? That is carried. Anything else under correspondence? Past Warden McNeil, please.
Thank you very much. I would like to support item 12.3.
And sounds like that support then would also bring back a staff report?
Yes, that is correct. Please.
All right. And a seconder for that, Councillor Bazinet. Those in favor? That is carried. Anything else under correspondence? Okay, then we would be looking for motion to accept the correspondence that was not specifically dealt with for information. Councillor Dietrich will put that forward. And Councillor Anderson would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. And under unfinished business, new and unfinished business, we have the Community Paramedic Homelessness Outreach Pilot Program. And Jeff is here to address that for us. And also this will be in our bylaws today as we're looking at those. So Jeff, is there any specific comments for this, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden, and good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to announce this program. I just wanted to give a quick highlight on this program so that all of council is aware. The work that's been going into this program has been ongoing for the last several months, and we were prepared to start this program within budget, within our own financial funding through our funding envelope that Ontario Health provides. So this program was going to start moving forward regardless of this announcement. But as we were moving through the planning, we became aware of a grant that became available. We did apply for this grant, and we were successful at receiving the monies that are outlined in this report. That will allow us to move forward with the training, the equipment that's required, and supplement some of the wages as we move forward in phase one of this program. Our intent all along was once phase one was completed and we had our, we had the statistics on homelessness and how we were helping those individuals with the help of CMHA and or the Canadian Mental Health Association and our social services people. Then we would be coming back to council to see if they wanted to make this more of a permanent program, which we would either need funding from another partner or we would have to apply towards the levy. So the intent was to do this program, the stage one of this program within budget that we already had. So I just want you to know that moving forward in stage one, this has no impact on the levy. And this is a good news announcement that we've received some funding that will help us move forward in that. And when we're finishing on finishing stage one, we'll be bringing a report back to council for steps to move forward at that time. Myself or Lori Vermeersch are here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you for the information, Jeff. Going to go to council if there's any questions you would have regarding the information Jeff shared. To Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to Jeff. Jeff, I'm certainly in favor of a program like this. I guess where my caution comes from is when you're dealing with mental health issues and the homelessness, do our staff have the specific training that it really takes to deal with those individuals?
Jeff, please.
Yep, through the warden to Councilor McClellan. So the answer is they don't have the extensive training with respect to the mental health issue. They do have some baseline training. Some of the training that they'll be receiving will be included in that. They also have some de-escalation training. All of our paramedics have de-escalation training for when they're working out in the field. But to subsidize that or to go in concert with that is why there will be the mental health worker with us when we're doing this work as well. So the Canadian Mental Health Association has put the worker onto this program with us. So they'll be working together.
I wish you luck. I hope it's successful.
Any other comments, questions from council? If not, then I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder. That's Councillor Finch and Councillor Bazinet. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Jeff. The before and after school program closures in Huron County, and Cheryl is here to present to us. Welcome, Cheryl.
Good morning, and through you, Warden, to members of council. On August 19th, 2025, parents of children in before and after school programs in Exeter and Hensel at 3 different schools were advised by the provider London Bridge that the programs would be closing on September 26th, 2025. And the closure is a result of staffing challenges. This does impact 97 licensed spaces at Precious Blood, 102 licensed spaces at Exeter Elementary, and 42 licensed spaces at Blue Water Coast. In accordance with Section 2 of OREG 22111, the school boards are required to ensure the provision of before and after school programs at every elementary school serving students in primary or junior divisions where there is sufficient demand or viability. Workforce challenges are not unique, and Huron County will continue to invest in retention and recruitment efforts in the ECE field. Huron County Children's Services supports our before and after school programs by offering a centralized wait list. We also provide fee subsidy for families that require it and minimal funding for program supplies, as well as our resource consultants in the program to provide support in the classroom. We have been assisting the school board in the search for new providers by reaching out to our existing childcare providers to see if they would have interest, and also contacting neighboring counties to see if they have a provider that would be willing to assist in providing before and after school within Huron. Both boards do have an RFP posted for a new childcare provider for the provision of before and after school. And the hope is that before and after school programs will be able to be replaced with minimal disturbance to families by the end date of September 26th or shortly thereafter. I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
Thank you, Cheryl. Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Cheryl, where is the biggest problem? Is it lack of wages, just lack of desire for people to be in this field? What's the issue?
Through you, Warden, I would say it's wages they are working to increase, like through the CWELC program. They have set a baseline for wages. So each year there's a $1 raise for the ECE field. So we're just in the beginning stages, but each year that will begin to improve. Also, before and after is very difficult because there's a break in the day. So it takes a very special person that would want to work in the morning, then not work in the midday, and then work in the evening. So unless they're able to be put into a childcare program that's operating nearby for the remainder of the day or manage the day that way, it becomes very difficult to find someone willing to work that type of a shift.
Councillor Finch, please.
Thank you. And thanks to Cheryl. I have great faith in our staff to look to work with our partners in the education field to solve these challenges, but the staff report lays out the challenges that parents face with the before and after program. And I would suggest that anyone in the county who thinks that this is something that does not affect them should think twice. Now, as you can imagine, many medical personnel, including PSWs, nurses, and doctors use this program. And if it is no longer available, then they would have to take more time providing childcare rather than seeing patients for appointments. Local business owners will have a harder time keeping staff to serve the public because their employees or owners themselves are now caring for their children, which means adjusting their work hours, which reduces the service hours they currently provide to the public. In my conversations with the public and those in the business of childcare, they suggest make staffing more stable and inclusive so educators are retained and children receive consistent care. There is a concern of the lack of permanent positions, lack of stability, and accommodations available to all staff. Challenges such as these make it really difficult to retain experienced educators, which in turn affects the quality and consistency of care for children. This is a quote that I received from a member of the public who wants to remain anonymous. And as Cheryl mentioned, in accordance with Section 2 of the Ontario Regulation 221/11, local school boards are legislated to ensure the provision of a before and after care program for every elementary school serving students in the primary and or junior division, for example, kindergarten to grade 6, where, quote, there is sufficient demand and or viability. It appears that these words, sufficient demand or viability, were written by a lawyer and has several interpretations and deliberately vague for cause. We as a council should pursue a recommendation to make before and after care a part of the core services of the school board to solidify responsibility at the Ministry of Education level, who has jurisdiction and the funding. Currently appears to be more piecemeal around the province and a clear indication to download it to municipalities, which is not reality. The reality is that our society is accustomed to having both parents working, and this is now part of the social fabric of the 21st century, and we are the third decade into the 21st century. The simple solution may be for the Ministry of Education and its partners to pay the workers better, provide more long-term stability for the workers. And I would suggest that we as a county request a delegation at the next Roma conference to advocate that the before and after program become a core service. I look to my colleagues for comment. And again, thanks to Cheryl for her diligence on this. She's very passionate about it, and we need to support our staff on this.
Okay, is there any comments from council regarding that? Councillor Anderson, please.
I would support a delegation at Roma because over the last several years, they've been closing the before and after school programs at a lot of the schools all across the county. And it's unfortunate that they're doing that, especially when I've talked to a couple of people that used to provide the service, were still willing to provide the service, but who they worked for did not want to provide the service. So even the small rural schools are really being affected by this.
Any other comments past Warden McClellan, please?
I certainly have no problem with the delegation, and I do believe it is an important program. But if we're going to go as a delegation, I think before we get there, we should try and put some thought into how we deal with the issue that Cheryl brought up, which I knew was the problem anyways, the fact that it's early morning, late afternoon, and nothing in between. How do we come up with a solution or an idea that might make that more palatable to the people actually providing the service? And if we went with a delegation that had a suggestion on something that might improve the system, we may be a lot more successful.
Councillor Finch, please.
Warden, and to my colleague's point there, I would suggest that we get a report back from staff in regards to that and look to our experts and what we need in that delegation and reach out to other partners and see what the challenges are, because this is something I see is boiling over across the province in different places. So we need to be active on this. Having wait lists for before and after programs or even childcare, I'm surprised we have that, with our demographics in our population in our schools have dropped significantly over the years. So there's a gap there, and I think we need to look to our staff for the recommendations and move forward with that delegation. Thanks.
Councillor Basnet, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. I agree with the delegation at Roma. I agree with the staff report. But what are we doing now, from now until January when Roma is? This is a concern starting now. September 26th is the date. So I would like to see some type of advocacy on our part from now until we get to Roma, even if we get the delegation as well. There's no guarantee that we're going to get the delegation. So what are we doing now?
Councillor Clott, please.
With regards to that last thing, I think the fact that we have staff that were proactive, that we acknowledge that they're spending time and working. So that's what we're doing now. I don't know if it helps or not. Last night at our council meeting, Councillor Harris passed a motion that we're lobbying the provincial government under social services. If I may, you mentioned a program, and I remember announcements by people wanting to get reelected that this is a priority, and they're increasing funding. I'm seeing acknowledgement of that, and clearly this isn't happening properly. So maybe we could do the same thing as a suggestion, that we send a letter to the minister, our local MPP and get what the program that they've announced and lobby on our behalf for the short term. And clearly, I think the fact that the room here is stated, we're right behind our staff that are spending time to help and see if we can get some of these back in place before, September the 26th. Thank you. And if it's October the 1st, no one's going to complain either. So I'll make a motion that we do write a letter. I'm sorry, not as the right wording, but maybe through the staff to send a letter to our local councillors, our local members of parliament and the Minister of Social Services or wherever that is, reminding them of the announcements they've made and we want to see the money.
And I believe our clerk is scribing a motion that may be suitable for us here. Are you ready for that yet?
I'm going to suggest, Councillor Klopp, I'm veering slightly off on yours just to encompass all of the discussion. I'm going to suggest a report regarding advocacy concerning this issue. Within that report, there may be some information regarding a possible delegation at Roma. It could also include a letter to the ministry as well. I'm pretty sure staff will include all these options if that works for everyone. If that's okay, then can I suggest the Council of the County of Huron request a staff report that outlines the advocacy options regarding the before and after school programs within the closure of the before and after school programs within the County of Huron.
I will move that.
So moved, seconded by Councillor Bazinet, and I believe Councillor Finch, you had some comments as well.
Yes, I do. And thank you for that. Through the warden, I'm wondering if we can direct this letter or some letter to the directors of education in the county and to ask for to expedite getting this resolved as quickly as possible and put the responsibility directly on their shoulders, and then CC that to the Minister of Education and our MPP as well.
So I think a draft letter could be part of that report and we could see it at that time and give staff time to put something together that's suitable. So nodding, and we'll make it formal then. Those that are in favor, that is carried. So we need a motion to receive Cheryl's report for information, and that's Councillor Vanstone and Councillor Finch would second that. Those in favor, that is carried. Is there a notice of motion for today's meeting? Councillor Vanstone.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. Thanks to Susan, she helped me write this out, so I will read it and we'll go from there. The date is September the 3rd, 2025, moved by Bill Vanstone, seconded by Doug Harding, that the Council of the County of Huron requests staff prepare a report on the installation of photo radar devices to improve road safety within Huron County.
Okay, so notice of motion has been put forward. That will return to us at a following agenda. Any other notice of motion this morning? Seeing none, we have 10 bylaws in our agenda, and I'd be looking for a motion for first, second, third, and final reading on those. Councillor Bazinet would put that forward, and Councillor McClellan would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. There's no close to the public session today. Just to make you aware of the upcoming meetings, CAO work alluded to October the 8th and October the 9th. So save that date and we'll be getting some more information regarding some information that we will do ahead of budget time, just so that we're all kind of sharing the ideas that we want to go forward from that. And so looking forward to that. I think it'll be very appropriate both for council and for staff to have some productive time there. So keep that in your mind for October 8th and 9th. With that, I would be looking for someone to confirm our actions for this morning. That's past Warden McClellan. Seconded by Councillor Harding. Those in favor? And that is carried. And would there perchance be someone willing to adjourn us today? Councillor Dietrich and Councillor Heffer. Imagine that. Who would like to be adjourned?